Well, hello and welcome to My Heart on Pages. I am LaQuita Parch, your host, and I am the CEO and founder of PayProV Publishing. And PayProV is pain, progress, victory, because I believe without pain, there is no progress, and without progress, there can be no victory. So I help people take their stories from a thought to a realization, and I love it. I love it. But one of the things that I also love doing is hearing people's why behind their book story. So today we have a special guest with us, and I am super excited to get into a discussion with her. She participated, I met her when I participated and was the publisher on a project called The Women of the Waiting Room. So there was the Women of the Waiting Room where there were 7 of us who did our stories, and then there was the Women of the Waiting Room devotional. And when I tell you, those 30 plus people in that devotional, they put their hearts and soul into it, and it was amazing. And this lady is one of those who told her amazing story in the Women of the Waiting Room devotional. So I can talk all day, y'all. Y'all know me. Y'all know how I do. But it's not about me today. It's about my guest. So, Natasha, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I
How
can't
are
complain. I
you?
could, I could, but why? I won't. I won't. But you know what? The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day, and I'm alive. I'm awake, and I'm not feeling great, but I'm here. So I'll take it. I'll take that. So, how you
Ye-
doing? So, where are you from?
Yes. I'm originally from Norfolk, Virginia, but I live in Maryland.
Okay.
I grew up here. I grew up in Maryland, but I'm originally from Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay. I was in Maryland a couple of years ago. I won an award, the Trivia's Inspirational Radio Award. So I was there, and that was my first time I was actually in Baltimore. Are you in Baltimore or near Baltimore?
No, I'm more near Washington, D.C. right now. I
Okay.
live in Landover, the Hyattsville area.
Okay, we did travel up there to DC to see the Capitol. You can't be so close to DC and not go there. So we did go up there while we were there.
Yes, yes.
It was a great visit. Food was good. So tell us about yourself, and tell us about your book. I know you participated in the Women of the Waiting Room, but you also have a solo book project. So tell us, what made you want to be an author? Now, I talk to people all the time, and they'll say, "Oh, I knew when I was 2 years old that I wanted to be an author." That's not my story. Is that your story?
No, that's not my story at all. Um, My name is Natashia Hagans. What made me become a writer is a traumatic experience that happened to me in 2016. I had a lot of stress going on in my life, and I was everything was just bottled inside. My dad had cancer. My mom was held at gunpoint, and it was just a lot of stress at that time. And both of my grandmothers had died, so I had a nervous breakdown. And
Mhm.
while I was in the psychiatric ward, I was like, when I left that place, I was like, I want to write my feelings and my thoughts. I want to get all of this out. So that's what made me start writing and doing poetry. And that's where rebirth, unfolding of the mind came from, just writing in my journal. And I just kept writing and writing in my journal. I was like, you know what? I want to make this into a book, a poetry book, to just get my thoughts out and my feelings and not to keep things bottled inside. That's what made me want to write.
You know what? I like that because I believe that writing is therapeutic. That's why
Yes,
I do what I
it
do.
was my happy place. My
Yes,
happy
and
place.
I believe that
Yes.
it's healing. It's healing, and
Yes, it is.
my thing is there are, people are waiting on the other end of your story so they can get healing from
Yes, it
your
is.
story. So I was looking at Rebirth, and I love your book overview, and I'm going to share it. It says, "What does a person do when they get another chance at life? Do we sit in our ashes of pain?" I like how you said ashes of pain. Do we sit in our ashes
Mhm.
of pain or rebirth our purpose? Rebirth, a story of mind unfolding through poetry, takes us on a journey through a person's fragile state of mind, from facing adversity to transformation of healing, birthing a new mind frame with a set purpose, a strong voice heard through poetry from the heart, a journey of rebirth. I like that. I love how you framed that, because oftentimes when we're going through things, if we keep it bottled inside, that's where the destruction is going to happen. It's going to happen inside.
Yes, yes, it does.
And then once it's done doing the destruction on the inside, then it's going to burst on the outside. So
Mhm.
can you share when you what was your, in the book, if you can share something in the book, what was your hardest poetry to write? What was your hardest piece to write?
My hardest piece to write was not feeling like I'm not being heard. I wrote a poem called You Don't Understand Me Though."
Hmm.
And it's just like keeping your, because when you feel like you're not being heard and you're just keeping it bottled inside, that's one of the poems that was one of my hardest poems to write. But Pills in Slow Motion, being in a psychiatric unit and going to therapy afterwards, and just in the Black community sometimes is looked down upon going to therapy, taking medication, but sometimes you have all these thoughts in your mind, and it can cause insomnia, and that's what happened with me. And medication helped me, and I want to advocate for the Black community, for all communities, that it's okay to take medication and do therapy and write. So that was one of my hardest poems, but it was a breakthrough. And your mind is fragile. Take care of it, just like you would go to the hospital for anything else. Go to see a therapist to talk things out as well.
You know what? You're absolutely right, because it's like taboo in the Black
Mhm.
community. It's,
Yeah.
don't go tell your
No,
business.
no.
You
Mm-mm.
don't, whatever go on in this house, stay in this house.
Yes.
Myself, the last several months have been very difficult, and my doctor suggested that I talk to a therapist, and I said, okay, because I'm the victim of medical childhood trauma, so there's a lot of
Mhm.
unresolved, and it will never be resolved because it's
Mhm.
medical, and I
Yeah.
see
Mhm.
I see the effects. It's not where something was done internally. I see my legs. I see that every day. And so the first thing I said was, I'm not crazy. I'm having
Mhm.
some issues. I was having some anxiety and some depression. And I reluctantly, I did. I was fighting it, but even when I called and I contacted the therapist, I said,
Mhm.
my doctor wanted me to do this, and I'm going to say right now, I don't really want to do this. I don't think I'm crazy. I just feel like my issues are not being addressed. And the first thing he said was, no, no, you're not crazy.
Mm-mm, you're
And
not.
it has
Mhm.
been very helpful. The talk therapy, even and medication. I've done medication and do medication.
Mhm.
It has been a turning point. It doesn't mean that everything goes away, but it's an outlet
No. It's
that
an
you don't
outlet
keep it inside, and all of that destruction doesn't affect you inside.
because it's gonna affect your outside.
Absolutely,
It affects it
absolutely.
will. It will.
Absolutely. I appreciate you said that, because we're seeing a lot. How did and this is a little off subject though,
Mhm.
but it's still on mental health. So in Georgia recently, there was a mass shooting here,
Yeah.
a 14-year-old. And so I'm like, you know what, those kids are going to be scarred for life because of everything that happened. What do you think about everything that's happening and unfolding as it relates to mental health? And a lot of it you're seeing where people have been bottling things up inside for years. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that is, as far as the shooting and keeping things bottled inside, a lot of the young people, I mean, everyone, we just really need to have an outlet or a group of people that we can really trust and talk to, and also where we can recommend these young people and anyone to go see a therapist that they can trust, that they can relate to, and just talk it out. And also writing in journals and doing meditation and mindfulness practice. Just breathe and talking to God. Talk to God. That's a number one thing. Talk to God. He will lead your way. He definitely God is the most important part of this journey for me as well.
You know,
Listening to God's voice.
yes, absolutely. That's my go-to. And sometimes, and you said it, listening. Sometimes we move and we're not listening.
Listening.
We take,
Mm-mm.
okay, God, here it is.
Listen.
I'm giving it to you. And then we're sitting there like, okay, God, you haven't answered me yet. Okay, God, I'm still waiting on you to answer. Okay, God's busy. Let me go ahead and do this. And then it's a mess. So I
Yes.
like that. I like that. So we have, so your piece in the waiting room, the women of the waiting room. I have the book right here.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Women of the waiting
Yes.
room. And your do you have the book? Do you have a copy of the book in front of you?
Yes, I have a copy of the
Okay.
book. Yes,
Okay.
I have.
A breakdown to breakthrough. Do you mind reading a chapter or so, not a chapter, a paragraph or so from your story?
I don't have the book on me, but I
Okay,
can go get it.
that's okay. I have
I,
it right here.
okay.
I have it
Okay.
right here. I like your title, and so I had an opportunity before the book even came out. I had an opportunity to read everybody's story, and everybody's story was different, but I loved how they all connected. And it's
Yes.
amazing that we're all different, but we all connect.
We're
We
all
all connect.
connected.
We're
Yes.
all connected,
Intertwined.
intertwined. And so when people say, "Oh, well, you know what? We are all really a 3 degrees. What is a third degree from separation?" So
Mm-hmm.
we have, it's amazing how you can look at a stranger's story and say, "Wow, that sounds like my story."
Yes.
Do that.
Yes.
And I read that through a
Mhm.
lot of people, even though it may look different
Different.
and we
Mhm.
tell it different, it's like, oh wow, I went through that. And so I may not have gone through it and handled it the way you did. And your story is like, wow, I can do this. Or I wish I had done that. And then the outcome would have been different for me. So I love that. Your title, A Breakdown to Breakthrough. Beautiful. So I'm going to share a little bit. Do you mind if I share a little bit?
Oh, I don't mind
Okay.
at all.
I'll be as transparent as I can be as I share my journey with you. The best advice I can give is to take care of your mental health before it takes care of you. In 2016, I ignored the red flags and I didn't slow down to process the trauma that I had to deal with that year. My year began with my mom being robbed at gunpoint. Both of my grandmothers died 6 months apart. My father was diagnosed with cancer, and work and home lives were stressful. While all this occurred, I was in grad school working on completing a 20-page paper for final exams. I felt the physical effects of all these stressors. My back started tingling, and I tried to go to sleep after 3 days. I ended up in the emergency room in a panic. The result of the emergency room visit was an evaluation to the psychiatric ward and a sleeping pill prescription called Ambien. I went on with my life like it was nothing. Still, the side effects of being on those sleeping pills were mood swings, suicidal thoughts, severe depression, loss of appetite, ir- 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 irri- irritable bowel syndrome, excuse me, and hair loss. I went to the doctor for a follow-up, and she told me, I can't let you have these sleeping pills anymore. I became frantic and in a panic as I got blood work done. My doctor called me in immediately and told me I had harmful bacteria in my stomach. I was sent to a gastroenterologist where I got a colonoscopy at age 35. And this is when they began a benign tumor. They found a benign tumor in my intestine. I was also referred to a psychiatrist who I could tell was burned out and wasn't a good fit for me. I was experimenting with pills that were not working for me due to the side effects. like wanting to die, drinking bleach, and banging my head against the wall. I told myself, this is enough. I confided in a few people, and they told me, Tasha, this is not you. Get yourself checked out. I decided to get myself checked out. I had a conversation with my primary care doctor, and I felt I needed to be checked back into the psychiatric ward in 2017. Once I checked into the psychiatric ward, I told it all. I could barely speak and was stuttering badly. I was taken off of the medication for my mental health. I stayed in the mental ward for a week. I didn't forget the earth angels that were sent to me during my breakdown. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder and a high pulse rate due to anxiety and placed on the proper medication. I was out of the mental hospital in a dark, I was out of the mental hospital in a cold, dark room. The nurse told me, you don't belong here. After being placed on the correct medication, I started to slowly come back to myself. When people started seeing me drift, they would tell me to snap out of it. But I remember God so vividly whispering in my ear, I have more work for you to do. Okay, I'm going to stop right there because you're going to have to buy the book. You can get it from Natasha
Yes.
to read the rest of the story. You know, I appreciate your sharing and being so transparent, because sometimes when we're sharing,
Mhm.
and we have to share to our comfort level, but sometimes when people are sharing their stories, they
Yes.
bits and pieces and what I call their holes in the story. So
Mhm.
it's difficult, but when you share your story, it's healing for you, because at that point when you're writing in your journal, you're writing for you and
Yes.
writing to get your feelings out and get your thoughts out. But when you're sharing, you're opening up to the world. And then you're knowing when people start responding to you that happened to me, then that's when you know you're not alone. And
Mhm.
you're not the only
Yes.
one that was going through that. So what was the turning point when you did during this process? I know you were writing and you started writing. When did you feel the breakthrough? Was it just the medicine, the talk therapy, or a combination of all of it?
It was a combination of all of it. Talk therapy, writing it down and writing down my thoughts and just getting everything out was a breakthrough for me. That's where I found, and just writing and going to church more and being around people who were really honest and encouraged me and telling me, th- this is your journey, Tasha. You can't worry about what anyone else thinks. You have to focus on yourself.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
how do you help people who you know or you observe? Because sometimes when we see things in other people, it's like, okay, you know what? That behavior is kind of what I was going through. How are you, what do you do when you see, somebody who, needs that extra push, and you can say, girl, listen, this happened to me. I think you should talk to somebody. Are you open to do that, or how does that work with you?
I'm open to do that, and I tell people I had a cousin that went through the same situation as I am, but I tell them what I went through, but also I don't want to be like bombarding people because this is their own journey as well. But I can tell you mine and how it worked for me, and you have to be slow with your approach and if they receive it or not. You see what I'm saying? And you take it from there, but always give them encouragement, affirmations, and pray for them. That's what I would say.
That's great. So how so how have things been since you published your books? The Rebirth, how was the reception of it? Did you market it? What did you do to get the word out that, hey, I'm writing a book? Because I tell my clients all the time, when you start putting pen to paper and you're going to publish your book, you start saying, hey, kind of like in Miss Celie in The Color Purple or Suge Knight in The Color Purple. I
Mhm.
was married now. I was married now. Oh, I was writing a book.
Yes, yes. I wrote 4 books so far since
Okay.
2017, and my books are on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. After writing Rebirth: Unfolding of the Mind Through Poetry, I wrote a journal for people, for young women in general to just get their thoughts out. And basically, the book I Am a Butterfly, it goes we in life you go through changes
Mhm.
where you go through the caterpillar stage where you're growing, and then you go through the cocoon stage where you're still trying to figure out life and you don't know which way you want to go. And this is a cycle. It, I mean, one moment you can be at a caterpillar stage, one minute you can be at a butterfly stage where you're blooming. We're always blooming, but it's in different cycles. So I just wrote that book for women to write out their thoughts and where you are in life. And it's okay to be a caterpillar. It's okay if you're in the cocoon stage. It's okay if you're blooming as a butterfly. And then I wrote another book. I have another poetry book called Uncaged Butterfly. It's more of my poetry. It's talking about the mind, different things, about life in general. Just getting things out in writing. And my last book, Pretty Wings, is about I went to a domestic violence with young teenagers. And it just shocked me and surprised me because to see so many young people getting abused and due to domestic violence and being murdered and killed. I wrote a book dedicated to young women about your wings are still pretty regardless of what you're going through in life and that trauma that you deal with. And even if you're still in that trauma, you still are loved, you're still valuable, you still have a purpose.
Oh, wow. I
So that's
love
the four
that.
books that I wrote so far.
I love that. I love that. Now,
And
do
I
you have Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, no, finish.
Oh, I was gonna say,
Movie.
do you have some that you can recite? Do you have any of your poetry? Now, I write poetry, not as much as that, but I can't recite any of it. I have to read from it.
I
So
don't
yeah,
recite because I'm not good with that either.
I know.
But
I'm
I
like,
have a
okay, I
book.
can't
I have a
remember.
poem. No, yeah, me either. But I have a poem in here called "Pretty Wings."
Yeah, can you share that
From
with us?
yes, yes, I can. I'm
That's
gonna read it from the book though.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, please
Okay.
do. Please share.
Hold your pretty wings up high. You have been battered and bruised, torn and confused, faced a lot of trauma that was even too much for your mama. Hold up your pretty wings so high. You have been called stupid, worthless, and even felt ugly and misused. Been called every cuss word in the book. You are fragile and shouldn't have been abused. Hold up your pretty wings so high that your wings touch the heavens. Find the mosaic art in you. Who you are today is enough. Believe it and let it be true. Hold your pretty wings up so high, let them boldly fly. Unapologetic for what you have been through, leaving traits of wisdom in you. Hold your pretty wings up so high, with each feather holding a message. Hold on. Of triumph, hope, despair, resilience, and vulnerability. Hold these melodies of feathers in your bosom, let it be. Hold your pretty wings up so high to the sun. Make it be your shelter. Stay there, stay there when you feel down. Don't flinch and may you never again run or feel as if you have to disappear. Hold your pretty wings up so high, the moon won't take away your truth. Embrace your darkness upon its shadows. Let it flourish. May you always bloom. Hold your pretty wings up high. Let your glow embrace all of humanity. Don't be embarrassed about your horrific story, but to help another victim find a haven so they can march to their story. Hold your pretty wings up so high, embracing everything with love, knowing your story will help someone without a doubt run their course with remorse.
Oh, wow.
Thank
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And that's in
Thank
the book Pretty
you.
Wings.
Thank you. Yes, Pretty Wings
Can
for
you
domestic violence victims and survivors.
do you have the book? Can you hold the cover? Hold the book cover
Yes, Pretty
Oh,
Wings. Yes.
beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Awesome, awesome. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. I tell you, time
You're
goes
welcome.
fast. So if you had to give one, if you had to leave one leg of advice for writing your story or getting your story on pages, publishing your story, overcoming anxiety, what advice would you leave for a young man or a young woman or anybody who is struggling?
Mhm.
What advice would you give them?
To get their story out, I mean, we face fear, we face anxiety. That's a part of life. But just do it. That's what I would tell. Just do it. And when you do it, when you start writing, and you might worry about what other people will feel or how they think about your story, but just write it. And it gets easier as time goes by. So I would just tell a young woman, young man, anyone, just do it.
Just do
Just
it.
do
Hey,
it.
you
Just
heard
do
it
it.
here.
It's that simple.
It's that
Just do
simple.
it.
Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
And listen, and how can people get in contact with you? And how can they purchase your books?
You can purchase my books at Amazon, all of my books on Amazon, Pretty Wings, I Am a Butterfly, Uncaged, Uncaged Butterfly, and Rebirth, Unfolding the Mind, all on Amazon. And also, what was the other question?
How can people connect with you?
Oh, you can find me at Natasha Hagans on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so very much. We're going to put that out
Thank
there. So
you.
listen, reach out to Natasha on through social media, Instagram. She's on Facebook also. And purchase her books. Go to Amazon and purchase her books. They are amazing books of poetry. And listen, if you have a story, and I know that you do because 100% of everybody living and dead has a story, it is important that you share your story. And I'm a publisher, Pay-Per-V Publishing, and I have helped hundreds of people take their stories from a thought to a realization. And I can help you take your story from a thought to a realization. But even if it's not me, it is just important that you get your story out of here. Get it out of
Mhm.
here because 100% again of everybody living and dead has a story. They're waiting on your story. They just don't know that it's your story that they're waiting from. And listen, the only stories we cannot heal from are the ones we don't share. So if I can help you in any way, please reach out to me. If you want to be if you have a story already and you've published your story, written your story, and you want some exposure, reach out to me and we can get you on, interview you on my heart on pages. And if we can help you publish your story, reach out to us at payprovpublishing.com. And I am on all things social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Twitter. X is Twitter and
Yes.
TikTok. TikTok. If
Yes.
all else fails, Google me. You can Google LaQuita Parks or Pay-Per-V Publishing. It'll all come up. And so thank you so much, Natasha. It has been a
Thank
pleasing pleasure.
you.
Better than a triple decker peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yes.
Until next time, be blessed and have the best day possible.
You
Bye.
too. Bye bye.